Hi everyone, welcome back to A Book for Every Situation. So today the video is going to be about my 2019 in books so far. So in 2018, maybe at the beginning or halfway through 2018, I started writing down a little review of every book I would finish because for one thing, looking back at the books I've read over the years reminds me of what was happening at this time, and it's a really good way to document my year or whatever I was reading at the time. So that was one part of it. But also the other part is that I would finish a book and I would say I liked it or I didn't, but I couldn't put my finger on what I liked and didn't like. So writing that out has helped me a lot to decide to look at books more critically and know what exactly I like in a book. So with that, I'm going to go through my little journal and talk about the books I've read since 2019, what I thought, the ones I liked and didn't like, and so on. 2019 has not been the most productive year for me in terms of books. I've read 9 books in 9 months. Usually I read more than a book a month, but with school, maybe I'll read 2 or 3 in 1 month, and then another 1 book will take me over a month. So it just depends. Alright, so the first book I finished this year is called All the Light We Cannot See. It was really, I'm not sure if it came out in 2016 or 17, but it was really popular when it came out. It was like a bestseller, all of that, and I just didn't get around to it, and I did finally, and I'm so glad I did. It's a World War II book, and there are so many of those, and I've read so many of those that they seem to blend together, but this one stands out because for one thing, it takes place in France and not Germany, so that kind of makes a difference. And just the characters are from a point of view that I had never read before. So it was a little confusing for me because it went back and forth between past and present, between 2 characters' perspectives, between 2 settings. So that got a little confusing for me. It's the one I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and that half star was because of that kind of back and forth. But the characters were beautiful. They were young, but it's not a kid's book. It's definitely more of a young adult book because I actually have an aunt who's like 80 and she loved this book. So it appeals to all ages, but the characters were beautiful. The plot was intense. It's a sad book, but throughout it has a lot of highs and lows. It was really beautiful writing. I loved it. Definitely recommend All the Light We Cannot See. Okay, this is another book. I didn't finish this one. This is Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto Eco. I didn't finish it, but I felt like I deserved to put it on my list because it took up so much of my time. This book, I read it for a class, so it was like a semester-long thing, but doing the reading assignments for this book were so boring that I couldn't read anything else. So I felt like I deserved to put it on here because it took a lot of time away from other books that I was reading. It's kind of, I think it's supposed to be a thriller, but it's like the Da Vinci Code, but more convoluted, complicated, and it's just a lot that goes into this book. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm sure it's good for a class. The class that I did it in, it was made for great discussion and all of that, but I didn't finish it, and I didn't mind not finishing it, and I try to finish every book. So that was one that I wouldn't recommend it. If you have to read it, you put in the work. Okay, third book of the year, Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. I've been a fan of Cassandra Clare since I was maybe 14, and I was reading her Mortal Instruments series, and then I read her other series, so this is her 3rd series. Kind of all in the same universe, but with different characters, and this was the last book of this trilogy called The Dark Artifices. So just because it was the ending book, it was like 900 pages, but it was really, really good. It's a book you can't really enjoy without having read the other books, because even I read the second one almost as soon as it came out, and then this one came out over a year later. So I kind of forgot a lot of what happened in the second one, so that's coming from somebody who did read it. So if you haven't read it, it's not going to be enjoyable, but I loved it. The story is super complex, involved. There are a bunch of side plots, but it all came together really well in the end, I think. Yeah, the ending was a little too convenient for me, but it was, I mean, it's a good YA fantasy romance. It has a little bit of everything. Okay, this is one that I pre-ordered. I was ready to read it as soon as it came out, and then I put it off for months. It's An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I gave it a 4. It's sci-fi, which is not really my thing, but sci-fi is like the genre, but the book is not about the sci-fi. It's about this robot that appears in New York City and then pops up in other major cities around the world and what happens with that, but the characters that it focuses on are very real, relatable, kind of annoying because they're so, you would act the same way in that situation, which I really like the way Hank did the characters that way. It leaves off in a cliffhanger because I'm pretty sure he's planning a sequel, but it's like a fun, quick read. I liked it a lot and I would recommend it regardless of whether you like sci-fi or not. I really liked it. It's a fun book. Okay, next was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This is another one I had been wanting to read for a long time. It's like a classic thriller. I liked it a lot. Again, 4 out of 5 stars. I give a lot of 4s. But it's a thriller, and it's usually, for a thriller to be 5 stars, it has to be like beyond a thriller, because the story was great, the plot was great, I was into it, I was waiting for the mystery to be solved, but after the book ended, it didn't keep me thinking about it. Like, the mystery was solved, and that was the book. So it was good. It has a few sequels, but it wasn't good enough for me to want to read the sequels, so maybe a 4 was a little generous. But while I was reading it, I was really into it, really excited. So I would recommend it for another fun, like if you like mystery and thriller, but it's not like a masterpiece of a book or anything. Okay, next is The Handmaid's Tale, and this is one that I had heard about for such a long time, and then finally I got around to it, and I got it on my phone as an ebook because it was free, and I don't like reading on my phone, so this one was dragged out over months. I was reading it at the same time as different physical books, and if I didn't have the book on me, I would read The Handmaid's Tale. It took me a little bit to get into it, but once I did, it was really good. The way it's written is not my style. It's a lot of thought, not a lot of dialogue or action until it develops. But the story was great, and the themes are super important. There's a reason that the show is doing so well, because it takes the main themes of the book, but makes them exciting to watch and adds a lot of action. So I recommend The Handmaid's Tale for somebody who likes dystopian books. It has a lot of themes about gender and inequality and extremism, so the themes are fantastic. It might take a little bit to get into it, but I give it a 4, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe a 4.5 I would give it. Next is Six of Crows. I think it's Lee Bardugo, I'm not sure. This is, I guess you could call it a heist thriller kind of book. I love heist books like this. It was really good, super exciting to read. The plot was good, the setting was good because it also has some fantasy elements. It's like in a different world. It's not supposed to be on Earth, but it's not sci-fi either, but it has like wizard kind of characters. It was good, but it wasn't the most memorable. I read it, I liked it, it was exciting, kind of like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It was exciting, but it also has a sequel, and in the moment, as soon as I finished the book, it's kind of a cliffhanger. So I was like looking for where I could read the sequel, and then a few days passed, a few weeks, and then I kind of forgot what happened in the book and why I wanted to read the sequel. So take from that what you will, but it was good. Okay, next is Love is a Mixtape by Rob Sheffield. I think this is my favorite book I've read this year. It's a memoir, and it's about this guy. Rob Sheffield is a writer for Rolling Stone. He talks about music, so music is like his life. So, but the book is about his relationship with his wife, Renee, who passed away a few years after they got married, really young. So the book is just developing their relationship. It feels so intimate. It feels like you're reading about something you're not supposed to, because they had a really beautiful relationship, and the way Rob writes about it was beautiful, and the way he compares it to music. It's music from the 90s, a lot of rock stuff I couldn't really relate to, but I could see the way it related to their relationship. beautiful memoir. Sad, obviously, but not even sad. Mostly it was beautiful, emotional, relatable as well. Loved it, would recommend it the most out of all of these. There's another book that I put on here. It's not within my 9, but I spent, again, like a month, and I just couldn't get into it. It's called New York by Edward Rutherford. He wrote one of my favorite books, which is called Paris. And I thought I would like this one as much, and I didn't. So, another book that I gave up on. I don't like giving up on books, but I've decided I'd rather give up on the book than spend a lot of time reading a book I don't like. So, that one took me a good month, where I could have been reading other things, but, you know, maybe it'll be somebody else's thing. It wasn't mine. And the most recent book I read this year is Call Me by Your Name, which I reviewed in my first video. I'm not going to repeat my whole review, but basically a beautiful romance, beautiful setting, great characters. I gave this one a 4.5. So my 2 highest rated were this one and Love is a Mixtape. Both romances, but I'm not the biggest romance book person, but they just happen to both be my favorites. So I would definitely recommend Call Me by Your Name as well, and the movie. Alright, so that has been my 2019 in books so far. I plan on at least doubling the amount of books I've read because I'm not satisfied with 9. I'll be satisfied maybe with 20. So we'll see how the rest of the semester and the rest of the year goes. Hopefully I can get in 11 more by December. We'll see. But thank you for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts, if you've read any of these, if you have any recommendations. Thank you.